Are you a gillnet fisherman who's been receiving phone calls from someone saying they're a fisheries observer? Unsure why you now have to get a permit to fish with gillnets in North Carolina? Hi, I'm Sarah Mirabilio, and I'm a fisheries specialist with North Carolina Sea Grant. In the next few minutes, I hope to explain what exactly the Observer Program is, how it works, and why the state runs the program.
Under the Endangered Species Act, a take of an endangered or threatened species without a federal government permit is illegal, regardless of who you are or the business you are conducting. This law applies to even those activities that happen on North Carolina lands or in state waters. A take is to harass, harm, pursue, hunt, shoot, wound, kill, trap, capture, or collect a protected species. The federal government may make an exception and allow a small number of incidental takes for an activity if a permit applicant develops an acceptable species conservation plan. Through what's called an Incidental Take Permit, or ITP, federal scientists allot a number of takes that will not greatly reduce the recovery rate of a protected species. The North Carolina Division of Marine Fisheries, DMF, received 2 permits, one for sea turtles and the other for Atlantic sturgeon. These permits allow North Carolina fishermen to continue to fish anchored large and small mesh gillnets that interact with these protected species.
Not only do I fish gillnet myself, but I buy a lot of gillnet fish from other fishermen, and it's more than half of my business here.
A major requirement of the permits is to have someone observe a small portion of gillnet fishing activity. At the very minimum, 7% of large mesh fishing and 1% of small mesh fishing.
Now, let's meet a couple of the faces behind the voice on your answering machine. Jeff and Jake, who observe out of the Central Coast.
I think it's an important way to just characterize a fishery, find out what people are catching, how they're doing, and as far as the state of North Carolina fisheries go, I mean, it's important in order to stay in compliance with the federal ITP.
We're here to keep them open. You know, if we don't have any observers, then the feds are going to close down the fishery anyway.
The current observer program for the gillnet fishery started back in the late 90s, around 1999, 2000. There was a mass turtle stranding in Pamlico Sound, and some of those strandings were attributed to the gillnet fishery that was taking place. So we had to start doing observer coverage to get a better handle on the nature of these interactions, and National Marine Fisheries Service basically came in and closed down Pamlico Sound in the fall to large mesh gillnets. So in order to keep that open, we got our first incidental take permit that allowed the small mesh gillnet fishery to still operate.
State regulations now require gillnet fishermen to get an estuarine gillnet permit before fishing. The Observer Program tries to ensure that data is collected from every coastal region.
Management units are based off of 6 management units throughout the state. So within those 6 management units, we have to have 7 to 10% coverage in the large mesh gillnet fisheries and 1 to 2% in the small mesh fisheries each season to comply with the incidental take permit. So if it was a statewide estimate and we didn't have any management units, we'd have to close the entire North Carolina estuarine waters to all large mesh or small mesh, depending on what type of interaction it was, to gillnets.
How do DMF scientists estimate the total takes for each protected species within a management unit? Key to making the estimate are 3 numbers: total number of fishing trips taken in the management unit, total number of fishing trips observed in the management unit, and total number of takes witnessed by the observers. As we said earlier, the federal government requires a minimum observer coverage of 7% for large mesh gillnet fishing activity. That means for every 100 fishing trips, observers have to ride along on 7 trips to be in compliance with the federal permits. As an example, in Management Unit X there were 100 fishing trips, 7 of which had an observer aboard. Or rephrased, the management unit had 7% observer coverage. One of the 7 observers witnessed a green sea turtle take. Because the 93 other trips did not have an observer aboard, DMF needs to estimate what might have been seen had observers been aboard 100% of the trips. To make this estimate, scientists calculate a ratio to scale up from 7% coverage to what they likely would have seen if there was 100% observer coverage. 100% divided by 7% equals a scale-up factor of 14. Scientists take the observed number of protected species takes, in this example 1 green sea turtle, and multiply that number by the scale-up factor, in this example 14. So in this example, the estimate of total green sea turtle takes for the management unit is 14. If DMF is able to increase observer coverage to 10%, the ratio to scale up is reduced. 100% divided by 10% equals 10. Going back to our example of 1 turtle take observed, because the scale-up factor is reduced, the number of estimated takes also is reduced from 14 to 10 takes.
On board, it's pretty old-fashioned. We got a Ride in the Rain notebook, and we just pretty much as things come over the side of the boat, we length them, weigh them. If they're going to keep them, put them in the cooler. If they don't want them, we put them back overboard. The rare occurrence when we'd get a protected species, there's a different procedure. I mean, you tag them, take a bunch of pictures, but on the general trip, you're pretty much just lengthening and weighing fish, taking gear characteristics, and trying not to get in the way too much.
Guy, I don't mind having him aboard. Like I say, he's not in my way. I don't burn extra fuel taking his weight. You know, it's not a big deal.
So the observers, while they're on board, they utilize all their time to collect basically 2 different types of data. We collect data on everything that comes on board. We collect data on the protected species in order to stay in compliance with the incidental take permit. We're also collecting very important biological data on all species that comes on the boat, which is very important. It goes into all the management decisions for stock assessments and fishery management plans. With better coverage, with more trips that fishermen can take us on, the more accurate our numbers can be with our estimations for turtle takes or Atlantic sturgeon takes.
Also important, if you have an interaction with a sea turtle or an Atlantic sturgeon while you're fishing and not carrying an observer, then call DMF and let them know. This will not count as a take under the permit guidelines and will help DMF improve understanding of protected species behavior and habitat use in our sounds. I hope this helped to explain what exactly the Observer Program is, how it works, and why the state runs the program. For more information, visit Sea Grant's website and read our blueprint on the program. Have a good day.